Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of The Fad Show. So on today's episode, I'm going to continue working on my 100 Series Land Cruiser, and today I'm going to be replacing the worn out front and rear sway bar links. So as you can see, these are the original fronts. They're just completely dry rotted, and all the rubber is just completely hard on them. Pretty much the same goes for the rear. The rear is in a little bit better condition, but still, like, the rubber is just not soft at all anymore. It's just completely rock hard. You can see the bushing itself also. I'll get a better shot of these on camera. So it should be a pretty easy job. For the rear, I have some Super Pro like polyurethane slightly extended end links, and then for the front I'm using Trail Tailor extended end links. I do have some like kind of rattles going over bumps, so hopefully this will take care of it. I did remove one of the rear ones already, and it was loose on there, so like I'm not sure if the rubber had shrunk or someone had just hadn't put it back together correctly, but it was yeah, not tightened, which might have actually been me when I was doing the springs. Come to think of it, I think I loosened those. But anywho, let's get to it. All right, so I guess hindsight being 2020, I should have filmed the other side because didn't have the exhaust in the way, which would have been easier to see. But here we are. I've heard that these lower nut and stud on here is 14 millimeter. I've heard that on some of the rustier trucks that these can be a little bit difficult to get off. I soaked mine in penetrating before, and yeah, they're pretty easy. But if you're going to be swapping to the Super Pro ones like I am, and these are difficult to come off if they were all rusty, honestly, I'd probably just cut them off myself. But anyhow, luckily my truck is from Texas, and I don't have to deal with any of that rust stuff. And I just had mine off not long ago when I was doing the struts, springs, whatever thing I was doing. And then this top one, probably get yourself a flex head ratchet like this. It's gonna make it a lot easier. I think it's only like 15 foot-pounds, so it's not much force holding it on. I realized that I said foot-pounds. What I meant is Newton meters. Regardless, it's not torqued very much. I also forgot to mention that it is a 12 millimeter nut on the top of the end link. Again, I've heard that these can be difficult to get off without breaking, so if I was not going to be reusing the link, I might consider just cutting it with a hacksaw or sawzall. I like to keep mine together so I can use it to figure out how the new one goes together. All right, so the Super Pro end links come with this, their own grease or whatever. So there's plenty of this stuff, so I'm just basically lubricating everything everywhere. I think it's really just most important to get it in the areas where there's going to be, where it's going to turn or whatever. But since they give you enough, I'm just hitting everything. Trying to pay close attention to the parts that are going to be moving. All right, and then I'm going to try and get everything assembled before I take it over to the car. So they have no instructions as far as how this goes. I'm just trying to position it basically like the other one came off the car. So it'd be something like this. And also they don't specify which of these nuts goes where. I'm assuming that the nylon lock nut goes on top. And then this will go in here on that lower shaft. I'm going to, my plan is I'll press this in the lower get that ready to go, but I'm not going to put this bolt in. Then I'll put the top on both sides and then try and join up the bottom at the same time. All right, so I'm going to put together this bottom joint first. Of course, on the other side, I was able to get this by hand, so I might just grab I'll grab a C-clamp and press that in. It's a little bit difficult getting everything lined up and the top captive nut started just with the amount of grease that's on everything, but eventually you'll get what you need. And like I said, I was able to get this in on the other side without doing this, but this should hopefully do the job. Getting the sway bar back in place was a lot easier than the front, but still might be easier if you have someone else with you to position the other side. You do have to be cognizant of where the other side is when trying to get it in position. I also show myself placing the bolt in the wrong direction. It should come in from the tire side. Now I'm just going to leave everything loose until I get the other side in place. All right, so I looked at the diagram and I realized I put this in the wrong way. So the bolt goes this way from the tire side. And then this bolt, lower bolt, gets torqued to 26 Newton meters. Whatever. I'm not going to say my torque wrench won't fit in here. I'm just going to say for something torques a little, I don't really care to torque it to spec. So I'm just going to give it a good and tight or a calibrated torque arm to 26 Newton meters. Yeah, that's 26. And then for whatever reason, they changed the top nut size to 17 millimeters, which seems overkill for a nut that gets torqued to 15 Newton meters. But yeah, it is what it is. And I think the flexible head ratcheting wrench is going to be key here. It appears that this side is a little tighter than the other side was. And based on a calibrated torque arm, that feels like 15 Newton meters to me. And this removed a lot of play in here. All right, here's the bracket for the rear sway bar bushings. I'm electing to change them one at a time. If you want, you can do both at the same time and drop the sway bar down. I don't think it's necessary. You can still get them out plenty easily with the sway bar in place. So these are just two 12 millimeter bolts that hold on this bracket. I hit mine with penetrant before I started doing the end links, so these have been soaking for a while. No issues coming out. I've seen some people disconnect the brake cable for this. I don't think it's necessary again. And I just like to keep the bracket going the same way. I don't think it really matters. Kind of the elongated section is forward. Not even sure from the factory is like that. And then also I like to pay attention to which side has the split in it. In this case, it's the rearward or upward side. And see, it's easy to pull that out with the sway bar in place. I don't see any reason why you would have to drop the sway bar down. All right, so here's my new Toyota bushing. The rear ones aren't nearly as worn out as the front. I mean, it's still obviously not good. You can see like how much wider this whatever hole is than on the new bushing, and how much thinner the rubber here is on the inside. Definitely a lot harder to. So I always put silicone in these, even though I don't think you need to. Like the poly ones, I have some 3N silicone like bushing grease, but since this is already sitting here, I'm just going to use this stuff from the Super Pro. Again, I don't think this needs a huge coating, but just a light coating to help it turn. And we'll go pop this in, and honestly, I think you could do this probably in 2 minutes if you had everything sitting there ready to go. All right, so if you remember, I said the split side went up and to the rear, so that's how I'll put in the new one. Okay. And I'll keep the orientation of the bracket the same. Not that I think it matters. And I like to tighten these brackets down evenly. I'm kind of bummed. I just got this Craftsman ratchet like literally no less than a year ago, and obviously I don't use it constantly, and it's already like jamming up. I bought it through Amazon, so I'm not sure if the warranty works. I have to figure it out. I like this ratchet though. It's like one of those super fine tooth ones. It's just kind of a bummer that the quality didn't, or whatever, the quality wasn't there. And this gets torqued to 18 foot-pounds. Again, this is a place where I would probably be happy with just giving it a good and tight, but it's easy enough to access with the torque wrench. And that's it. All right, so the other sway bar link I did with the torsion bar out. This one I forgot to do, / I thought it would be good to show doing it with it in the car, because most likely if yours are worn out, that's how you're gonna be doing it. So I'm going to take this one off with it still in the car, or with the torsion bar still in the car. And I think the flex head ratchet is going to be key for this. And there's 2 bolts. The other one comes in from the back side, so I should be able to use my socket for it. Working by feel. And Alright, bracket comes out, and the old sway bar link comes out. These actually aren't too bad. I wouldn't be surprised if these were changed out pretty recently, but in with the new one, since I thought that the end link was destroyed, I just went ahead and ordered these as well. Yeah. And like I said before, I just try and bring the housing down evenly on both sides. Not sure it really matters, it just seems to make it go together easier, and ideally will keep it positioned better. And these are just getting good and tight. They don't need to be super tight. And these are one of the suspension bushings you don't have to tighten with weight on the car, since it's designed to turn and move anyways, so you don't have to worry about binding it up. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to do today is replace the front sway bar end links. So this is a 14mm nut down here and then one on the top. You can take the wheel off to do this. I'm just going to replace it like this because you're going to have to torque it with the vehicle on the ground anyways. So loosen both of these 14mm nuts. You're going to have to do both sides at the same time so you can swing the sway bar up and remove the mount. Alright, I'm gonna go do the other side because I won't be able to push this up until the other side is unbolted. I apologize for not showing removing the link, but when I removed the other side, they literally just fell out. But you can see how cracked and how loose this joint is. And these are both completely dry rotted. So yeah, they're definitely gone. I'll show you the new ones I got. All right, so here are the old links here are the new links compared to the old ones. I ended up getting the Trail Tailor extended ones, which maybe are a little bit overkill with my smaller lift right now, only at 1.5 inches. I'm not sure I really need these, but it was kind of the easiest way to get all the bushings you need, because from Toyota, they sell everything individually. You can't just buy the whole link. So yeah, this is probably easier. I'm gonna put some silicone on the rubber bushing parts and then just put these in. It's pretty straightforward. We'll slap them in. I'll look up the torque spec and torque them down. These do have to be torqued with the vehicle on the ground. If you feel like you can't get in there with your torque wrench, you need to have the wheel off, then you can just jack up the hub to your normal ride height. I ended up working on installing the front end links at the end of the day when I did my torsion bars and rear springs. So needless to say, I was pretty tired and frustrated. I found it very difficult to get the extended Trail Tailor end links in. In the end, the trick I ended up using was to install the top half, or the top nut on one side, and then the bottom nut or bottom portion on the other side, and then kind of crisscross both sides to get the opposite, either top nut or bottom stud in. I fought with this for seemingly a very long time before I could position everything together to get it tightened down. I will say that if you had someone to help you do the other side, so you can get both sides in position at the same time, it probably would go a lot smoother. As far as torque specs go, the lower stud and nut is torqued to 52 Newton meters, and the top cap nut is torqued to 25 Newton meters. So that's a wrap on this episode, guys. I have a graveyard of worn out bushings here. Definitely a super easy DIY job. I would say kind of the only tip or suggestion I have is that for the front, for the Trail Tailor extended end links, there's a lot less room to get them in position, to get the nuts started on them. So if you had someone with you to do the other side while you're doing, to guide one side while you're doing the other, it might be helpful, but I was able to do it on my own. So yeah, I hope you guys liked this video, and as always, like and subscribe and stay tuned for the next time. I haven't driven the car yet, but I'm hoping that this will make a drastic improvement on how it drives. Like I said, I have had some clunks over bumps or whatever, so hopefully this will take care of that. I think that it has definitely the likelihood to do so. I guess I'll post back in a future episode on how it's driving. Ever since I did the springs and torsion bars, it's already been riding immensely better. So thank you guys, and stay tuned for next time. Bye.